In the grand city of Zakara, where the scent of spices mingled with the sea salt air, there lived a young weaver named Kailyn. His hands, though calloused, moved with a poet's grace, and the silks he wove were said to capture the very essence of dreams. Yet, for all his skill, his heart was heavy. For his beloved, the beautiful Yasmina, lay afflicted by a mysterious slumber, a curse that no physician or holy man could break. One evening, as Kailyn wept by her bedside, a stooped and ancient woman, a teller of fortunes whom many called a witch, appeared in his doorway. Her eyes, like polished obsidian, seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. "The cure for your beloved," she rasped, her voice like the shifting of desert sands, "lies not in this world, but in a city of fire and brass, where wishes are sold like common trinkets." She spoke of the city of brass, the heart of the Efreet Empire on the elemental plane of fire. There, she said, one could find a tear of the Grand Sultan, a solidified drop of the ruler's own sorrow, which held the power to undo any magic. Desperate, Kailyn sold all he had, purchasing a small, enchanted amulet from the old woman, a charm she claimed would protect him from the city's searing heat. Following her cryptic instructions, Kailyn journeyed to the heart of the Al-Ansar desert, to a place where the air shimmered and the sand glowed with an inner heat. There, he performed the ritual she had taught him, and the world dissolved into a vortex of flame. When his vision cleared, he stood before a sight that stole the breath from his lungs. Before him, suspended over a sea of liquid fire, was the city of brass. Its towers of obsidian and brass pierced a sky of roiling smoke and embers. A great wall, polished to a mirror sheen, encircled the metropolis, and from its gates a procession of strange and wondrous beings flowed in and out. There were hulking fire giants, their skin the color of cooling lava, and mischievous-looking fire newts, their bodies wreathed in flame. And everywhere there were the Efreet, their proud and cruel faces framed by beards of fire and smoke. With the old woman's amulet cool against his skin, Kailyn entered the city. The air, though hot, was breathable, and the streets, paved with basalt and obsidian, teemed with a life he could never have imagined. He saw merchants hawking wares of solidified flame, and artisans crafting jewelry from captured starlight. He saw slaves from 100 different worlds, their eyes downcast, and warriors in armor of gleaming brass, their faces hidden behind fearsome masks. Kailyn, with his heart pounding in his chest, made his way to the Grand Bazaar, a sprawling marketplace where anything and everything could be bought or sold. He sought the tear of the Grand Sultan, but his inquiries were met with laughter and scorn. "The Sultan's tears are not for the likes of you, mortal," a sneering Efreet merchant told him, his voice a low rumble. Days turned into a week, and Kailyn's hope began to dwindle. He had seen wonders beyond his wildest dreams, but the cure for his beloved seemed farther away than ever. One evening, as he sat in a small smoke-filled tavern, nursing a cup of bitter, fiery wine, he overheard a conversation between two shadowy figures. They spoke of a secret auction, a gathering of the city's most powerful and influential, where the rarest of treasures were to be sold. and among them, they whispered, was a single tear of the Grand Sultan. With renewed determination, Kailyn followed the figures, his heart a drum against his ribs. He found himself in a hidden chamber, a place of opulent cushions and shimmering curtains, where the air was thick with the scent of exotic incense. There, on a pedestal of polished obsidian, lay a single iridescent gem, a teardrop of solidified light that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Kailyn knew he could never afford such a treasure, but as he looked at the gem, he thought of Yasmina, of her gentle smile and the light in her eyes, and a desperate plan formed in his mind. He was a weaver, a master of his craft. He would weave a tale, a tapestry of such beauty and sorrow that it would move the heart of even the cruelest Efreet. He approached the auctioneer, a towering Efreeti with eyes of burning coal, and made his offer. Not of gold or jewels, but of a story, a tapestry woven from the threads of his own heart. The Efreeti, amused by his audacity, agreed. And so Kailyn began to weave. He wove the story of his love for Yasmina, of her beauty and her kindness. He wove the tale of her mysterious slumber, of his despair and his hope. He wove the story of his journey to the city of brass, of its wonders and its terrors. And as he wove, the threads of his loom seemed to come alive, shimmering and dancing in the fiery air. The tapestry he created was a masterpiece, a work of such breathtaking beauty that it silenced the entire chamber. The Efreet, for all their cruelty and pride, were moved by the depth of his love and the artistry of his creation. Even the auctioneer, his fiery eyes softened, looked upon Kailyn with a newfound respect. When the tapestry was finished, the auctioneer, in a voice thick with an emotion Kailyn could not name, declared, "The mortal has paid his price." He handed the tear of the Grand Sultan to the weaver, his hand, for a fleeting moment, resting on Kailyn's shoulder. With the tear in his possession, Kailyn returned to his own world, his heart filled with a hope he had not known since Yasmina's affliction. He placed the gem on her lips, and as it dissolved into a shower of light, her eyes fluttered open. Kailyn, the weaver of Zakara, had faced the fires of the city of brass and returned with a treasure beyond price. And though he never spoke of his journey to another soul, the tapestries he wove from that day forward held a new and wondrous light, a reflection of the fire and the magic he had witnessed in the city of the Efreet.
Kailyn, the weaver from Zakara, what an extraordinary soul to journey to the very heart of the Plane of Fire, to brave the city of brass itself, all for the sake of love and a single legendary teardrop. It truly speaks to the audacity of mortals, doesn't it? That kind of courage or maybe desperation to step into a realm of pure destructive elemental energy.
It certainly does. Most folk, when they hear of such a place, they just imagine a fiery hellscape, a forge of pain and ash, nothing more.
Right.
But Kailyn's tale, it highlights something else. The terrifying beauty, the brutal order, and the very real dangers and opportunities that exist within that infernal city. It's a journey few would even dream of attempting, let alone succeeding in.
Exactly.
And it's precisely these wonders and warnings that we love to explore here on Realm Talk.
I am Ember Rivenveil, a planeswalker by trade and by passion, with a deep interest in the currents of magic and history that flow through all the realms. I've spent time trying to understand the forces and peoples that shape existence, from sigil outward.
And I am Ronan Greymark, a ranger who spent his life navigating the wild places from Faroon to, well, stranger landscapes. I've seen much of the natural world, even beyond our prime, and I'm always eager to understand its deepest secrets, especially when they involve a place that makes a volcano look tame.
Today we're diving into a realm that, as you said, is far more than just a fiery hellscape. We're talking about the elemental plane of fire and its magnificent, terrifying capital, the city of Brass. This isn't just some fantastical location. It's a place of immense political importance across the multiverse, governed by harsh realities that touch countless lives.
It truly is. This is not merely a backdrop for a harrowing tale. It's a living, breathing, burning crucible of power that shapes much of what we experience, even in our own world.
To truly grasp the significance of the City of Brass, we first need to understand where it sits in the vastness of the multiverse. The most widely accepted framework, at least among scholars who travel the planes, is what we call the Great Wheel cosmological model. Imagine the prime material plane, our home, the realm of worlds like Toril or Athos, as the very center of everything.
A tiny speck, though it feels mighty large to us standing on it, doesn't it? That perspective certainly puts things into focus, knowing our own world is just one part of a far grander design.
It really does. Surrounding our prime material, you have the two transitive planes. The ethereal plane, that misty, shimmering realm of protomatter that sometimes touches our own.
Like ghosts slipping through walls.
Exactly. And the silvery, boundless void of the astral plane, which is often called the highway of the gods. These aren't destinations in themselves, but rather pathways, conduits that lead to the two great rings of reality, the inner and outer planes.
So if I'm picturing it right, the outer planes are all about ideas and beliefs, sort of reflections of law and chaos, good and evil, stretched out infinitely. Their very substance changes with the convictions of those who live there, right? Shifting landscapes of thought.
You've got it precisely. Their very essence is shaped by cosmic alignments. The inner planes, however, are fundamentally different. They are the raw, pure source of all physical matter and energy in the multiverse.
Yeah.
Think of them as the fundamental building blocks of existence, each an infinite expanse of a single elemental concept.
It's hard to wrap your mind around the sheer scale of it all. Like trying to understand the endless currents of the deepest ocean or the unseen forces that sculpt mountains over millennia. Makes you wonder what shapes the plane of fire itself. Makes it more than just endless flame.
And that's where the interactions come in. Within the inner planes, we have the primary ones: air, earth, fire, and water, the four elemental planes alongside the positive and negative energy planes.
The building blocks.
Yes. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Where these primary planes touch, new hybrid realities are formed. For instance, the borders between the elemental planes create what are called the para-elemental planes. Magma, for example, is where fire and earth meet.
Makes sense. A hot rock.
Ooze is born from earth and water, ice from water and air, and smoke from air and fire.
So you're telling me there's a whole plane of just smoke, or one made entirely of ice. My mind conjures some strange and maybe beautiful landscapes at those intersections. How do creatures even survive in a place like that? It's hard enough navigating a blizzard in the spine of the world, let alone a realm of pure frozen air.
More than just beautiful, they are active, dynamic places with their own unique inhabitants and ecologies. Traversing them is indeed a specialized art. Similarly, where the elemental planes meet the energy planes, you get the 8 quasi-elemental planes. Radiance, for instance, is where fire meets positive energy.
Blindingly bright, I imagine.
Extremely. While ash is born from fire and negative energy. But the plane of fire itself holds a particularly critical position. On what we might metaphorically call the equator of this great wheel model, it's situated directly opposite the plane of water, and it's adjacent to both the planes of earth and air.
That's quite the neighborhood. Like living on the edge of a great volcano, right next to a desert that breathes fire, and across the street from a vast ocean. That closeness must mean constant interplay between these primal forces.
And that placement isn't just cosmic geography, it's the source of the plane's defining characteristics and its eternal conflicts. Where it touches the plane of Earth, you find what are known as the fountains of creation, a region of immense, constantly spewing volcanoes and magma flows, incredibly rich in raw materials like metals and minerals.
Ah, where the raw stuff comes from.
Exactly. And its border with the plane of air creates the Great Conflagration, a domain of choking smoke and ash, a direct result of their interaction. This structure means the plane of fire isn't some remote, isolated inferno. It's a foundational pillar of reality itself, one of the primary sources of matter and energy for the entire multiverse.
So if something truly catastrophic happened there, say a planar war, or some vast magical imbalance, it wouldn't just stay contained. It would send ripples through creation, like dropping a boulder into a still pond, but on a cosmic scale.
Precisely.
The elemental fire that fuels spells, the very spark of life in some creatures, all of that could be thrown into disarray if the plane of fire were to truly fall into chaos.
Any large-scale instability within it could have profound and catastrophic consequences for magic, for the very processes of creation, and even for life across countless worlds, including our own prime material plane, the political state of the plane of fire, and by extension, the stability of the Efreet Empire and its capital, the city of brass. It's like the structural integrity of a cornerstone of reality itself.
So the Afreet, just by holding the reins in that burning realm, wield a kind of cosmic leverage that most of us probably don't even think about. It gives me pause. Thinking about how a civil war in the city of brass, or a successful invasion by, say, their genie enemies, could destabilize the very element of fire throughout the multiverse. It makes Kailyn's mission, despite its personal nature, seem to carry a far greater unseen weight, doesn't it?
It truly could. The effects on magic, on creation, on life, they'd be unpredictable, but undoubtedly devastating. We often simplify these vast cosmic models, trying to make sense of something our mortal minds can barely grasp. There are even alternative models, like the world axis cosmology.
Different ways of looking at it.
Exactly, which serves as a good reminder that these are more useful metaphors than literal maps. But for our purposes today, the Great Wheel really helps us understand the immense power housed within the plane of fire.
Well, metaphors or not, it's clear that the plane of fire is no place for a leisurely stroll. It's an environment of absolute hostility for nearly all forms of life we know. A realm where the physical laws are utterly alien and, frankly, lethal.
Yes.
We're not talking about a campfire here. We're talking about elemental fire itself. This isn't fire that needs fuel or oxygen to burn. It just is. It exists in solid, liquid, and gaseous states all at once.
What a terrifying thought.
And anything unprotected, anything not native to the plane, is swiftly and utterly consumed by the ambient conflagration. Just gone.
It means that for any outsider merely existing, there is a constant magical battle for survival, a continuous drain on one's very being just to withstand the intense heat and the toxic atmosphere.
It makes you wonder how a simple weaver like Kailyn could possibly survive such a place for as long as he did. His sheer determination must have acted like its own kind of magic, a protection born of will.
Perhaps it did.
It truly is a cruel realm. But unlike some of the featureless voids, like maybe the plane of air or water, the plane of fire actually has a defined topography. There's a clear sense of up and down, established by the natural upward leap of flame itself.
Which allows for a landscape.
A landscape, yes, though one of truly terrifying aspects is the ground in many regions isn't soil or rock, but a solid layer of supercompacted fire. It might look like loose-packed red sand or hardened black earth, often covered in a fine layer of ash.
Solid fire.
And the rivers and seas, not water, obviously, molten magma, roiling with waves of liquid fire. Even the atmosphere itself is a shimmering haze of gaseous, elemental fire, thin, toxic, and utterly unbreathable for most. Visibility is often severely limited, shrouded by thick clouds of smoke and soot. What's surprising, though, about this brutal plane is that it's not uniformly uninhabitable. It has several distinct macrogeographical regions, each playing a crucial role in the plane's power structures. First, there are the Cinder Wastes, a vast expanse of baked, arid dust and blackened crust. This plane is dangerously unstable, with titanic cracks that can appear without warning, spewing lava from the plane's depths in spectacular and deadly geysers. You don't want to be caught out there.
Definitely not.
Then there's the Sea of Fire, a massive ocean of molten magma, so incredibly hot that it flows with the fluidity of water. Across this sea, the Afreet sail their formidable warships.
A sight that would send shivers down the spine of even the most seasoned mariner from our prime material. The raw power of the elemental realm harnessed for war. Fleets of ships sailing on liquid flame. Chilling.
Then you have the Fountains of Creation. This is the border region where the plane of fire meets the plane of earth. It's a titanic range of volcanoes that constantly spew lava, but it's also incredibly rich in metals and minerals.
The source of their wealth.
Precisely. This makes it the primary domain of the Azer, those skilled elemental smiths, and a favored lair for powerful red dragons who, as we know, enjoy the heat.
And for good reason. The raw materials found there are, unlike anything found elsewhere, essential for the magnificent brass structures the Afreet build. Controlling that border is a key part of their power.
Beyond that, there's the Plain of Burning Coals. This is a relatively stable expanse of flat land, and it serves as the agricultural heartland of the Efreet Empire.
Agriculture. On the Plain of Fire.
Sounds impossible, doesn't it? But it's here that enslaved populations are forced to toil, cultivating specific fire-resistant crops to feed the immense masses of the City of Brass. This isn't just a curiosity, it's the literal breadbasket supporting their massive population and army. A truly shocking fact about a plain of pure fire.
It changes the entire perception of the plain.
And finally, the Ash Desert, a blasted expanse of endless gray ash dunes. This region is notably cooler than the rest of the plain, and strangely, it's almost entirely devoid of life. Some scholars speculate this might be due to a lingering magical cataclysm from ages past, a scar left by some ancient, terrible conflict.
And to survive in any of these regions, a traveler needs more than just a strong will. They need continuous and potent magical protection. The ambient temperature ranges from a chilly 200 degrees Celsius near the Plain of Ash to over 1,500 degrees Celsius in the plane's core.
Where unprotected matter is just incinerated in seconds.
Instantly. Beyond the heat, there's the unbreathable atmosphere, the sudden rains of hot ash, plumes of superheated steam, and explosive pockets of other elements that make travel incredibly perilous.
It's a landscape that actively tries to kill you. What's crucial to understand is that this varied geography determines the plane's political and economic power structures. The existence of these distinct resource-rich areas is what allows for a complex hierarchical civilization like the Efreet Empire to even exist.
Right.
Without the Plain of Burning Coals, for instance, the City of Brass simply could not sustain itself in its current form. It would starve.
And the City of Brass itself, it's not just arbitrarily placed. It's built upon a highly valuable, stable plateau, a prime piece of planar real estate. The Efreet's dominance, therefore, isn't solely based on their innate power as elementals, but on their strategic control of these vital, life-sustaining territories.
Controlling the resources.
By holding the most valuable and productive land, they can maintain a massive population, a standing army, and a vast slave force. This gives them a logistical advantage that dwarfs that of their rivals, like the salamanders, who are largely relegated to the more volatile and less productive volcanic regions. It's a powerful strategy etched into the very face of the plain.
Literally carving their dominance into the landscape.
So let's talk about the masters of this burning realm, the Afreet themselves. They are the dominant species of the Plain of Fire, the undisputed masters of the City of Brass. They are a type of genie, incredibly powerful elementals, but what makes them truly unique is that they possess a mortal soul, bound to the very essence of primal fire.
Seeing an Afreet for the first time.
Yeah.
It's quite the experience. They usually stand over 12 feet tall, with hulking, muscular frames. Their skin ranges from magma red to coal black, and they often adorn themselves in the finest silks and glittering jewelry made of brass and gold.
Finery amidst the flames.
And when they take to the air, their lower bodies transform into a swirling column of smoke and embers, allowing them to fly with surprising speed. Their sheer physical presence just demands respect, puts most humanoids firmly in their place.
Their physiology certainly commands attention, but it's their psyche that truly defines them. The Efreet mind is a profound study in the nature of lawful evil. They are haughty, cunning, and ruthlessly cruel, viewing all other creatures as either enemies or potential slaves.
Nothing in between.
Pretty much. They absolutely despise being forced into servitude themselves, a great irony given their reliance on it, and they are relentless in their pursuit of vengeance against anyone who has wronged them. Yet, from their own twisted perspective, they don't see themselves as monsters.
How could they?
They regard their race as fair, orderly, and possessing an enlightened sense of self-interest, justifying their tyranny with a chilling rationality. That internal justification of their cruelty is the very hallmark of their lawful nature.
It must take a certain kind of ruthless will, a steel-hard resolve, just to survive in such a society, let alone thrive. I've seen some harsh groups among goblins and orcs, but this level of ingrained, almost institutionalized cruelty, it's something else entirely. It's like their very code demands treachery.
It absolutely does. Their civilization is ancient, built upon a rigid, tyrannical hierarchy ruled by a single grand sultan, supported by a vast network of pashas, nobles, and judges. The social fabric of their society is a constant churn of political intrigue, backstabbing, and millennia-old blood feuds between noble houses.
Sounds exhausting.
In Efreet society, strength is admired, sure, but treachery isn't just expected, it's practically a way of life. Alliances are fleeting, often ending in, well, conflagration. Peace is seen as weakness, and vengeance is considered sacred. And their powers are as formidable as their society is brutal. They are naturally immune to fire, and they can conjure it at will, either as a hurled bolt of flame or by imbuing their scimitars with burning energy.
Useful trick.
Their innate spell-like abilities are potent and versatile. They can conjure fire elementals, create a scorching wall of fire turned invisible, or even plane shift to other realms to conduct their infamous slave raids.
That explains where some folk disappear to.
And the most powerful among them, the nobility, possess the legendary ability to grant wishes. However, as Kailyn's story subtly hinted at with wishes being sold like common trinkets, beware.
Ah, the fine print.
True to their malicious nature, Efreet are masters of twisting the wording of a wish, perverting its intent to their own benefit or to the detriment of the wisher. A wish granted by an Efreet is very often a wish regretted, as Kailyn so clearly understood.
So that story of Kailyn needing the Sultan's tear, specifically, rather than just asking for a wish, that takes on a new layer of meaning. He understood the danger that a direct Efreeti wish would never truly benefit him without some terrible cost. It speaks to his deep understanding of their nature, doesn't it?
It truly does. He sought a specific artifact over a seemingly infinite power. And the longevity of the Efreet Empire, which has stood for millennia, can be attributed directly to its lawful evil nature. Their society doesn't function in spite of its cruelty. It functions because of it.
How does that work?
The crucial insight here is the combination of a strict, well-publicized legal code and a culture of constant, predictable treachery. It creates a brutally stable system. The law, however harsh, provides the framework that allows for complex functions like interplanar commerce to exist.
So there are rules, even amidst the backstabbing.
Exactly. At the same time, the constant infighting and blood feuds serve as a perverse mechanism for the ambitious and competent to rise, preventing the ruling class from stagnating and becoming vulnerable to external threats.
It's a society of controlled, institutionalized evil. It finds its own twisted sort of stability, much like certain dangerous ecosystems find their own brutal balance, where predator and prey keep each other in a grim equilibrium.
Precisely.
A chaotic, evil Efreet society, one without that strict adherence to rules, would have devoured itself eons ago, leaving nothing but ash.
Quite so. Their adherence to a lawful tyranny is what has allowed them to build and maintain such an enduring empire. In terms of foreign relations, the Afreet are defined by their eternal, passionate hatred for the genie of the plane of air and the merit of the plane of water.
Elemental opposites make sense there'd be friction.
This ancient enmity frequently spills over into open warfare, often with devastating planar consequences. Conversely, they maintain a strong and pragmatic relationship with the devils of the Nine Hells. They share a common alignment and a mutual interest in the trade of souls and slaves.
A match made in the hells, you might say.
Indeed. This connection is so established that the Devils maintain a formal embassy within the city of Brass itself, a dark monument to their enduring alliance. Now, let's turn our attention to the city of Brass itself, a planar metropolis unlike any other. Its history stretches back into the mists of primordial time. Some legends even claim it to be one of the oldest cities in all creation, though that's likely hyperbole given the vastness of the multiverse.
It's still very old.
Immensely so. What is undisputed is its antiquity. There's even evidence suggesting the site might have had a pre-Efreet history, possibly as a holding of the ancient, powerful civilization known as the Windukes of Aaka.
Ah, the Windukes. Legendary builders. It doesn't surprise me they might have dabbled on the elemental planes, shaping even raw elements to their will. It speaks to a time before the current planar powers had fully established their dominion. Ancient history indeed, even before the Efreet claimed it.
Precisely. But the city, as it's known today, owes its existence to two very distinct races. The Efreet and the Azer, a race of elemental smiths unparalleled in their craft.
Master craftsmen.
In a forgotten age, these two were actually allies. The Efreet, with their grand vision and ambition for an empire, contracted the Azer, widely regarded as the multiverse's most skilled masters of metal and stone. The Azers fulfilled their contract, forging the city of Brass into a true wonder, a masterpiece of elemental architecture.
A grand achievement. Should have been a lasting alliance.
It should have. But upon its completion, the Efreet, driven by paranoia and greed, committed an act of legendary treachery.
And I thought some of the treaties I've seen broken in the Prime were bad. What happened? How could such a grand alliance fall apart so spectacularly?
They attempted to enslave their former allies, the Azers, all to prevent the secrets of their new fortress city from ever being shared.
Keep the blueprints to themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. However, the Azers, though caught by surprise, fought back fiercely. The Efreet's enslavement attempt ultimately failed, but it shattered the alliance and ignited an eternal enmity that continues to define the relationship between the two races to this very day. This unhealed wound, this great betrayal, it's not merely a historical footnote, it's a critical, persistent vulnerability for the Efreet. You see, the Efreet craves absolute control. They're defined by paranoia.
Right.
Yet the Azers, as the original builders, possess an intimate and unparalleled knowledge of the city's construction, its secret passages, hidden weaknesses, structural secrets.
Everything you wouldn't want an enemy to know.
The Efreet's failed attempt to neutralize this threat through enslavement left a deeply resentful rival power literally on their doorstep, holding the keys to the kingdom. This knowledge is actually the primary deterrent preventing the Efreet from launching an all-out war of annihilation against the Azer kingdom. It represents a permanent security flaw, a source of immense political leverage that fundamentally undermines the Efreet's projected image of impregnable power.
So they project overwhelming strength to mask a fundamental weakness, a secret key that could unlock their fortress. Any rival power like the Jinn or even a cabal of devils could potentially exploit this. It's like a ticking time bomb at the very heart of the Empire, a fascinating contradiction for a people obsessed with control.
Following this betrayal, the city entered its Sultanate era, rising to prominence as the undisputed capital of the Efreet Empire. It has been ruled by a long line of Grand Sultans, each reigning from the fearsome charcoal palace. We've seen their reigns shape the city's destiny. For instance, the tyrant Grand Sultan Ekbiyor embarked on a massive campaign of planar conquest, which ultimately led to civil war and his downfall.
Overreached himself.
Severely. He was succeeded by Grand Sultan Fiars, who rebuilt the city's economy by reestablishing trade compacts and reaffirming treaties, restoring its status as a planar hub.
So even for beings of such raw power, there are cycles of destruction and rebuilding, much like any great empire in the prime material. It's a pattern you see across all realms, though perhaps with more fire and brimstone in this case, literally.
And the current ruler is the Grand Sultan Mareke Al-Sadan Al-Harik Ben Lazan, a paranoid and powerful monarch who governs the city as an absolute autocrat. In practice, the day-to-day affairs are often delegated to a vizier, while the Sultan focuses on matters of state and high policy.
Keeps his hands clean, perhaps.
Order, a truly brutal order, is maintained by a massive elite guard force known as the Illuminated, who enforce the Sultan's laws and the strict nightly curfew. The city of brass itself is an architectural marvel, a true statement of power forged through the combined genius of the Azers and the tyrannical ambition of the Afreet. Its very foundation speaks volumes. The entire metropolis rests upon a colossal floating hemisphere of polished brass said to be some 40 miles in diameter.
40 miles, floating brass.
This great brass bowl is, in turn, situated upon a massive slab of solid basalt that can either hover perpetually over the roiling sea of fire or rest upon the stable ground of the Cinder Wastes.
A mobile fortress, then. That's quite the feat of engineering to be able to shift your entire city from a sea of molten rock to solid ground. It certainly makes siegecraft a challenge, doesn't it? How do you lay siege to a city that can simply float away?
It is the city's first and greatest defense, allowing it to move away from most large-scale threats. The city is encircled by an immense and foreboding wall of black stone and obsidian, punctuated by numerous tall brass watchtowers that provide commanding views of the surrounding plain.
High ground, always important.
Access to the city is restricted to at least 8 named, heavily guarded gates places like the Shimmering Gate, the Gate of Ashes, and the Magma Gate. These are the only sanctioned points of entry, and all who wish to enter must submit to the scrutiny of the Efreeti guards. The city's internal infrastructure is equally remarkable. A network of canals crisscrosses the city, but instead of water, they carry rivers of flowing lava.
Lava canals.
These flaming aqueducts serve a dual purpose. They are a public utility, with citizens scooping lava for their own needs, and they are the power source for countless forges that fuel the city's industry. The streets themselves are paved with heat-resistant materials like obsidian, shale, and baked clay, allowing for foot traffic even in the oppressive heat.
I can hardly imagine the daily sounds and smells. The shimmer of heat, with rivers of liquid fire running through the streets. It makes me think of the deepest dwarven forges, but on a city-wide scale, constantly burning and flowing. Must be a truly overwhelming sensory experience.
The architecture of the City of Brass is, in its very essence, a breathtaking display of might rendered in stone and metal. The skyline is a vista of polished metallic towers, soaring minarets, and grand domes, all crafted from materials like black glass, basalt, and brass to withstand the extreme temperatures.
Built to last and built to impress.
The aesthetic is a grandiose fusion of natural volcanic forms and opulent, cleverly built designs, all meant to inspire both awe in visitors and fear in the populace. Every element of the city's design, from the impossibly strong walls to the tamed rivers of fire, physically embodies the Efreet obsession with absolute control and their desire to subjugate.
Like the lava canals. Useful, yes, but also a constant reminder of who controls the fire.
Exactly. A slave or citizen moving through the city is perpetually surrounded by these architectural reminders of the regime's might. The city itself is a tool to keep folk in line by design, reinforcing the social hierarchy through its very physical form. This vast metropolis is organized into several major districts, each with a distinct function and character that reflects the values and priorities of the ruling Efreet. The spatial organization of the city is a direct map of the Efreeti worldview. It shows what they prioritize, how they manage their economy, and how they control their diverse populations through physical and cultural separation. First, there's the furnace. This is the political and administrative heart of the empire. Heavily guarded, opulent, home to the ruling elite. Its most significant landmark is the Charcoal Palace, the personal residence of the Grand Sultan, and the ultimate seat of power.
Where the big decisions are made.
Within this district also stands the Embassy of the Nine Hells, a truly terrifying-looking structure of curved obsidian spikes, a physical demonstration of the strong diplomatic and commercial ties between the Efreet and the Devils of Baator. The placement of power here is centralized, isolated, and fortified, reflecting a leadership that rules by might from a position of, well, profound security.
Then there are the Arches, situated on the border of the Sea of Fire. This district is dedicated to high-stakes commerce, entertainment, and vice. Its most infamous feature is the sprawling slave market.
Grim place.
An open-air bazaar where sentient beings from across the multiverse are bought and sold like cattle. It's a major hub of interplanar trafficking, with devils being prominent buyers. It's noted that Celestials, in particular, are a highly sought-after commodity for diabolical clientele, fetching truly exorbitant prices.
A horrifying trade.
The very separation of this market from the more legitimate artisan markets suggests a deliberate social and legal compartmentalization. Different types of goods handled differently. A chilling insight into their economy and their disregard for anyone not Efreeting.
Next, we have the Foundry, which is the industrial engine of the City of Brass. This is a district of smoke, heat, and ceaseless labor. Its centerpiece is the Zenith Forge, a colossal manufactory large enough to house several fire giants, producing the high-quality arms and armor for the Sultan's legions.
Makes sense.
As you might expect, this district is home to a significant population of enslaved fire giants forced into their ancestral trade.
And it's no accident that near this forge stands the Shrine to Surt, a place of worship for the fire giant god, molded from dark metal hammers. That seems almost too generous for the Efreet.
It absolutely isn't generosity. The placing of the forge where the giants are forced to labor and the shrine where they are permitted to worship their god isn't a coincidence. It's a calculated act of social engineering. Providing a cultural pressure valve to lessen the risk of rebellion for a powerful but subjugated race, they get a semblance of cultural identity, but only one that serves the Efreet's purposes. A twisted form of control.
And finally, there's Piraculum, the most public-facing district. This is where you'd find artisans, general merchants, and visitors not involved in the high-level politics of the furnace or the illicit trade of the Arches.
The nice part of town.
Piraculum boasts the bustling street of artisans and the main city market, where a wide variety of goods can be found. It's also the location of the Fenstrel Spire, a craft fair held every 2 weeks, and smaller, specialized shops like the Flame Garden, a jewelry store known for its unique heat-forged pieces.
This district presents the most civilized face of the city. A carefully managed facade of commerce and craft that masks the brutal realities of the other districts. It's the face they want you to see, designed to draw in foreign coin and distract from what truly happens within their walls.
It might seem impossible, but despite its extreme hostility, the Plane of Fire supports a unique and surprisingly diverse ecosystem. Life here has adapted not just to survive, but to thrive in conditions of perpetual flame, providing critical resources for the Efreet.
life finds a way.
The flora of the plane is as alien as its environment. You might find groves of ash willows whose blackened branches sway in the superheated winds, or forests of serpent trees which twist like frozen flames and whose bark glows with a faint internal light, often used for ambient magical lighting in Efreet estates.
And the most prized botanical specimen, the salamander orchid, a rare flower whose petals of molten gold shimmer like liquid fire. This flower is a treasure of immense value, both decoratively and as a potent alchemical ingredient for fire-related potions.
Which means the Afreet control the supply, naturally,
allowing them to monopolize certain magical trades. It's a marvel to see how life adapts, even in the most extreme conditions, and how even the most unique life forms become a resource to be controlled and exploited.
In the agricultural regions near the city of Brass, like the obsidian fields, the Afreet oversee the cultivation of specialized crops. These include grains like crimson rye and habit grain, and spices such as flame cloves. A notable fruit is the turgamate fiery stuff, a delight for the Efreeti palate, but lethally caustic to most other species.
Best avoided by visitors.
Definitely. As for the fauna, it's equally remarkable. The most common creatures are animentals, which are essentially the animals of the plane of fire. Beings of pure flame that take on forms reminiscent of prime material creatures, ember foxes, fire elephants, inferno crocodiles. But they lack the self-aware intelligence of true elementals,
making them perfect beasts of burden or for the hunt.
The Sea of Fire is home to massive fire whales, majestic creatures that swim through the molten waves and ride the air currents above. Generally peaceful, but their immense size can pose a significant navigational hazard for Efreeti warships. Sometimes they act as natural barriers, or even allies for those who know how to navigate their migration paths. The solid ground hosts a variety of smaller creatures. Lava worms that burrow through solid fire, which can destabilize terrain, swarms of fire bats that hunt glowing hornets, consuming blood for reproduction and possessing unique regenerative properties that make them hard to kill.
Resilient creatures.
And then, of course, the fire snakes, which are actually the juvenile forms of salamanders, resembling serpents of pure flame, wild, aggressive, and a common hazard in the plains wilderness.
This unique biology highlights the interconnectedness of life, even across planar boundaries, and how these elemental forms sustain and are exploited by the Afreet. Despite its mono-elemental nature, the city of Brass is a cosmopolitan melting pot, though it's a society built on a foundation of rigid, brutal hierarchy. Its population estimated at around 4 million.
4 million souls in a city of fire.
It's a complex tapestry of masters, servants, slaves, and visitors, each occupying a clearly defined rung on the social ladder. At the apex of the society are the Efreet themselves, the undisputed rulers and masters. They form the noble class, defined by immense wealth, ancient lineage, and absolute political authority. Their lives are a constant game of intrigue, maneuvering for power and prestige within the Sultan's court, managing vast estates and commanding the city's legions. Their whims are quite literally the law, enforced without question. Beneath the Afreet are the subjugated castes, entire races bound to the Afreet's will through conquest and manipulation. A significant population of Azers exists within the city, almost entirely as enslaved or indentured master craftsmen. They toil in the great forges, producing the wondrous metalwork for which the city is famous.
Still holding on to their craft, even in chains.
Even in servitude, they maintain their own rigid communal social structure and harbor a deep, burning hatred for their Efreet masters, a direct legacy of the Great Betrayal.
And the serpentine salamanders. They're primarily used as slave soldiers, enforcers, and taskmasters. The Efreet are clever in their cruelty here. They skillfully exploit the salamanders' long-standing resentment towards the Azers, whom the salamanders blame for their own enslavement,
pitting them against each other.
This enmity makes them ideal guards for Azer work crews, as they carry out their duties with a cruel relish, ensuring no unity among the enslaved. It's a grim strategy of divide and conquer.
The city is also home to a wide array of other races, occupying various roles. Fire giants, a powerful race, largely enslaved following a great conquest. They are prized for their immense strength, used for heavy labor in the forges and as elite shock troops in the Sultan's armies.
Their presence is so significant that their culture gets that small, controlled outlet, the shrine to Surtur we mentioned, just enough to keep them somewhat pacified.
And devils from the Nine Hells are common and influential residents. Not subjects, but allies and business partners operating from their own embassy. They are deeply involved in the city's politics and are major players in the slave trade.
Which tells you quite a bit about the kind of business conducted there. A truly infernal alliance that transcends planar borders.
The city's markets draw a diverse and transient population. Merchants, mercenaries, wizards, adventurers from across the multiverse. Beings of every conceivable race can be found in the bazaars, seeking rare goods, illicit services, or even the fulfillment of wishes, if they are foolish enough to trust in Afreet.
Buyer beware, always.
As long as they obey the laws and have wealth to spend, they are tolerated. And finally, fire elementals are common, bound into service by powerful Afreet and other spellcasters as property and tools, serving as guardians or living engines for the grand infrastructure. This brings us to the very underclass, the engine of the city's economy and the foundation of its society. Slavery. Slaves constitute a massive portion of the population, with some estimates as high as 20% or 800,000 individuals.
800,000. A staggering number. It's a stark contrast to Kailyn's own free will and determination in his quest. His success wasn't about power or status, but about love and a unique offering. Imagine the despair of those bought and sold here, trapped in a burning world they can barely survive, their freedom forfeit.
It's a grim reality. Slaves perform virtually all forms of manual labor, from farming the obsidian fields and mining in the fountains of creation, to constructing the city's grand edifices and serving in the homes of the Efreet nobility. They are acquired through two primary means: captured in raids on other planes, particularly the prime material.
Abducted from their homes.
Or they are created through the city's legal system, as enslavement is the standard punishment for nearly any infraction, no matter how minor. The treatment varies greatly. A skilled craftsman or a powerful warrior might be treated as a valuable asset, given adequate living conditions to ensure productivity.
Keep the tool functional.
Unskilled laborers, or those who displease their masters, however, are utterly expendable. They face brutal conditions and tragically short lifespans. Escape, for them, is considered all but impossible. The magical protections that make the city habitable for non-natives are strictly controlled by the Afreet. To flee the city is to flee into a waiting inferno.
No way out.
The history of the City of Brass is punctuated by numerous incursions, both hostile and commercial. When we analyze these documented expeditions, they reveal a clear pattern: imperial ambition, critical security vulnerabilities, and constant political volatility. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of the city's fundamental state as a perpetual hub of planar power. Consider first the Toblin affair, an event documented in the chronicles of an adventuring tournament. This involved a mission to rescue a genie official named Toblin, who had been abducted by the Lords of Flame and taken to the City of Brass.
A dangerous rescue attempt.
The chronicle of the journey itself is as revealing as the objective. The path to the city was an epic undertaking, a grueling trek across the hostile landscape of the Plane of Fire, beset by monstrous fauna, treacherous terrain, and hostile guardians.
From a ranger's perspective, I can tell you that even with all the proper precautions, a trek across the Plane of Fire would be a hellish ordeal. The heat alone would crush the spirits of most adventurers, let alone the lurking dangers like lava worms or fire elementals. This affair truly highlights the city's formidable natural isolation. It's its first line of defense.
It does. Furthermore, the encounters with the city's guardians, from demonic sentinels demanding tribute to patrols of Afreet questioning all travelers, highlight the transactional and deeply xenophobic nature of the regime. Access isn't granted, it's bartered for. Suspicion is the default state for anyone not of Afreeti blood.
So just getting to the city is hard enough, let alone operating inside without being a recognized trade partner or someone very powerful.
Next, there's the Illuminated Conspiracy, a fascinating case study recorded during the era of factional strife in Sigil. This conspiracy wasn't orchestrated by the Afreet themselves, but by a third party, a prime material sorcerer named Green Marvent.
An outsider meddling.
Marvent used an abandoned Afreeti palace on the Plane of Fire, known as the Citadel of Fire, as a secret staging ground. From this base, he orchestrated a complex scheme involving faked deaths and portals to infiltrate the political factions of Sigil.
Clever and risky.
The key takeaway from this incident is a critical one. The Afreet do not exercise total, absolute oversight over their own plane. That a prime wizard could occupy and operate from a fortress within their domain without their immediate knowledge points to significant gaps in their security and surveillance.
A chink in their armor.
It clearly demonstrates that strategic locations on the Plane of Fire are coveted by other powers who are willing and able to exploit any lapse in Afreet vigilance. More recently, we've seen the rise of the Cult of the Burning One. This series of events documents a major effort by the Sultanate to project its power onto the prime material plane. This campaign involved establishing proxy cults, known as the Cult of the Burning One or the Cult of the Veiled One in regions like the Lost Lands.
Spreading their influence.
These cults, prophesying a cleansing jihad of flames, erected brazen spires and worked to destabilize mortal kingdoms, paving the way for a full-scale invasion by the Sultan's forces.
It's sobering to think that such a vast, insidious influence could be brewing right under the noses of prime material rulers, destabilizing entire kingdoms for their own ends. That kind of long-game strategy speaks to a truly dangerous enemy, patient and far-reaching.
It certainly is. This reveals the active imperialistic ambitions of the City of Brass. It also details the complex web of internal factions, secret societies, and political intrigue within the city itself, vulnerabilities external agents might investigate and potentially manipulate.
Opportunities for spies and saboteurs.
Taken together, these three historical cases paint a coherent picture. The City of Brass is not a static monolith. It is a dynamic political actor, constantly engaged with the multiverse. Toplin shows its defenses and hostility. The conspiracy reveals its security is imperfect. The cult proves its desire for conquest. The history of encounters is a chronicle of its foreign policy, intelligence failures, and imperial ambitions.
Proving its immense power and strategic importance make it a perpetual hub of conflict and opportunity. So after hearing all this, if you're a planar traveler, or maybe just someone with a reckless streak, and you're considering a visit to the City of Brass, you must do so with extreme caution and a thorough understanding of the local customs and laws.
Absolutely.
My insights are simple. Be smart, be quiet, and be ready to pay.
And even then, it might not be enough. The laws of the City of Brass are absolute, enforced without mercy by the illuminated, the Sultan's elite guard. Ignorance of the law is never accepted as a defense.
And the default punishment
is enslavement. The length varies with the severity of the crime. Of particular note is the strict nightly curfew. All shops shuttered, all citizens indoors. Anyone found on the streets after curfew faces immediate arrest and enslavement, no questions asked.
Etiquette, too, is paramount. An insult, real or perceived, to Efreet noble can have swift and fatal consequences. Travelers should conduct themselves with deference and humility.
Bow low, speak softly.
It's also critical to understand the deep-seated enmity between the subjugated races, like the hatred between the Azirs and the Salamanders. This is a powerful social dynamic. It can be cautiously exploited by a clever operative, maybe, but attempting to mediate or interfere, that's likely to draw the ire of all parties involved. You don't want to become the target of ancient grudges.
As for economic dealings, the markets are ruthless. While it is said that anything can be bought or sold in the City of Brass, every transaction is ultimately subject to the Sultan's will.
Haggling is expected, sure, but all merchants operate knowing that a portion of their profits, the Sultan's tax, is non-negotiable. Bribery is common, often necessary, but you must be careful. Don't offend a powerful Afreet by offering a bribe that's perceived as insulting.
Tread carefully there.
And here's a crucial detail many don't consider until it's too late. Water. Extremely rare and valuable in the City of Brass, often costing as much as 10 gold pieces per gallon.
10 gold?
Unauthorized use of water or ice magic is met with severe punishment, typically enslavement and confiscation of all magical implements. Remember, water is the elemental opposite of fire. Its use is viewed with extreme suspicion and is highly regulated, a crime against the very nature of the plane.
A vital piece of survival knowledge.
Kailyn, the Weaver. For all his lack of martial prowess or magical might, he succeeded where many powerful adventurers would have failed. Perhaps it was the purity of his purpose or the unique offering of his art that allowed him to navigate these treacherous waters in a way few others ever could, bypassing the usual perils and strictures somehow.
It brings us back to the core paradox of the City of Brass. It stands as the ultimate expression of the lawful evil alignment in the multiverse. A civilization of breathtaking magnificence, a hub of interplanar commerce, a powerful demonstration of order and ambition.
Those soaring brass towers, the lava canals, the bustling markets, a pinnacle of achievement in its own way.
Yet this entire edifice is built upon a foundation of systematic cruelty, profound betrayal, and the institutionalized subjugation of millions.
It's a society of jarring paradoxes, a planar jewel that is simultaneously a prison for the vast majority of its inhabitants, a nexus of wealth fueled entirely by the commodification of sentient life, an impregnable fortress whose rulers live in constant fear of a historical secret held by their most hated servants, the Azirs.
How much control is truly enough for a tyrannical regime when the seeds of its destruction are so deeply rooted within its own foundations?
Indeed.
The Efreet have, against all odds, successfully imposed order upon the very essence of chaos elemental fire itself. But in doing so, they have created a society that is both brutally stable and eternally volatile. The law, however harsh, provides a rigid structure.
But the inherent evil
Ensures that it is a society forever teetering on the edge of its own contradictions. A shining example of a civilization that is both glorious and monstrous.
So what does it mean for the multiverse that such a magnificent, terrible place stands as one of its cornerstones? And what lessons can we learn about the nature of power, control, and freedom, even from within its burning heart? Something to ponder. We hope you enjoyed this journey through the realms. Remember to subscribe for more insights into the wondrous and perilous corners of existence.
And please leave us a comment with topics you'd like to hear covered next on Realm Talk. We're always curious about what mysteries you want us to explore.
For now, I am Ronan Greymark.
And I am Ember Rivenveil.
Join us next time on Realm Talk.